Denise Hunter wrote her first book while her children napped. It was the only free time she had. Well, now she's an empty nester, and Denise is still writing heartwarming novels that her readers love.
Denise Hunter is a prolific, best-selling author of more than 40 books. 3 of them have been made into Hallmark movies. Nearly 30 years ago, Denise started writing as a young mom and found her niche in heartwarming, small-town love stories. With her latest offering, The Summer of You and Me, Denise provides a story with both love and mystery and a wholesome escape for readers.
Well, Denise Hunter is here with us now, and we welcome you back to the 700 Club. It's good to have you here. It's been a while.
It has. Thank you so much for having me again.
Let's talk about your book, The Summer of You and Me. What an interesting novel. And you've done 40 books.
I have. That was my 47th, actually.
47th. Wow. So you took a break in between there at one point. Talk about that and what made you decide to come back into writing again.
I took a little break when I decided I was going to learn to play drums for my church. We were starting a new church, and I thought I would really love to learn to play the drums. We didn't have a drummer, and I had always wanted to learn to play, so I figured it was the optimum time to do that. And I knew I couldn't raise 3 little boys, write books, learn to play the drums all at the same time. So I gave up writing for just a little while.
And what was the motivation to come back?
Well, I always knew I was going to come back. It's my thing. It's what I love to do. God gave me the kind of brain, you know, that just loves to work out plots and figure out what makes characters tick.
It was your grandfather, right, who first inspired you?
He did. So my grandfather was doing poorly. I got a phone call that he was soon to pass away, and I went to the hospital to see him one last time, and he was unconscious, but he was just lying there breathing. And I remember looking at him and thinking, wow, this man has done so much for the Lord. He's whatever God put on his heart, he did. What an example for me and for all of my siblings to have. And as I was watching him, the Lord just laid on my heart that dream that I had to write a novel someday, it's time. You know, I didn't want to get to the end of my life and think, oh, I wish if only I had,
I didn't do it when I
just tried.
Yeah.
Right. And so I started writing that first book within just a couple of weeks of his death.
Wow. Wow. So his death, actually, his going to heaven actually brought you into your purpose here, or one of them.
It did. And isn't that just like God, the way he, you know, he takes
So
something
like
that's bad, something that's a negative in our life, or we think, and he just turns it into a positive.
The Summer of You and Me. Where do you get these ideas? As I read this, I thought, first I was puzzled. I thought, okay, where is this going? Like, how's she going to get this out of this situation? Where do you come up with fresh ideas? 47 books. I mean, that's remarkable.
Right. Well, ideas just come from everywhere. I think it's just the way God wired me. If you kind of got it going in the back of your head, you know, that you need ideas, it's like a computer file. It just stays open all the time. And so when I'm going about my life and I'm reading articles or watching a movie or talking to a friend or
kind of filing things away?
Yeah, it just kind of my brain files things away for later. I write them down these days because things don't stick with me as long as they used to.
You're preaching to the choir here.
But this particular book, it actually was something that happened to me that inspired it. So I was in my hometown. I ran into somebody who looked exactly like a friend I used to have who lived there. And I knew it couldn't be him because he had moved away. And so that just kind of got my whole brain thinking, well, what happens if someone whose husband had passed away ran into somebody who looked like her husband?
Yeah, it's startling. Then you initiate things going around in our brains as we're reading it, thinking, what is this about? And you do that so well. You carry that theme through the book. So as you're gathering these ideas, you went back to your hometown, you had this experience, and what did growing up in a small town do to be able to bring all of this to life for you? Because I think you pulled a lot from that.
Yes, of course I did. So there's just something about a small town. There's the community. I think we really lack that these days.
Yes.
We're so much online and on social media that we kind of lack the whole idea of community. That's one of the reasons I want to write about small towns, because I feel like people crave that.
Well, it's relationship, you know, and your book is full of that. Do you think of what you're going to do before you start writing the book? I mean, do you have an outline of the whole thing, or do you go chapter by chapter and let it unfold? How do you do it?
I'm more of a seat of the pants writer, which means, of course, that I just let it happen as it happens. But I do know certain things going into the book. I want to know who the characters are, basically, in a basic kind of way. And I also want to know what they want and why they want it and what might keep the hero and the heroine apart. Once I have those things down, I just kind of start writing and let God do the rest.
Yeah. So you're a North Carolina girl?
Well, I'm not from North Carolina, but boy, I said a lot of books there.
They like you there. Your book talks about loving again after loss. And, you know, that can be a hard experience for anyone. But where did the decision to do something about that come for you?
You know, I'm not sure where that came from. But I feel for people who've lost somebody and they have to learn to love again. There would be so much that you would be afraid to put on the line again because of that painful experience. So, you know, with 47 books, you kind of sometimes have to delve into matters that you have not experienced yourself.
You almost have to be a little bit of a shrink in the process of it.
I love that part of writing, though. I love delving into the characters and why they do what they do. And it so reflects real life, you know. So many of the times you run into people and they act a certain way, and there's a reason for it.
Just to try to understand why people do what they do.
Yes.
Well, when you're writing something like this, you also, at least in this book, I felt like you really have an opportunity to make some value statements in what you do. Is that a part of your plan, too, as you go along, or does it just happen because of who you are? And
I think a lot of it just comes out of me. I always pray before I write. I read the scriptures before I write, and I ask God to direct me. And I think He just, sometimes I don't even know where things come from when they come out onto the page. They're not really something that I had planned to say, but they just come out.
One of the things I loved about it was your faith is evident in a gentle, ongoing stream throughout the book that's not like a, you know, slam in the face, but it definitely causes one to realize the difference it makes in a person's life. When people read The Summer of You and Me, what do you want them to take away from that?
I want them to take away the healing power of God's love. I want them to take away values of redemption. I feel like there's a lot to be learned about the way people and the characters in the book relate to one another, and about how they can delve down into what's going on inside them.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't necessarily see those things until we come face to face with it, either in life or in a book. And He can really just bring those things to light. You can't deal with things until you know they're there.
Well, a very big theme throughout it is the power of family. You show families that don't have faith and connectedness in them, and then the difference when a family does. It's a wonderful book. It's a great read. I just want to say, if you're looking for the perfect beach read, be sure to check out The Summer of You and Me. Even if you're not going to the beach, it's a great read. So it's available wherever books are sold. It's The Summer of You and Me by our guest, Denise Hunter. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for
having
me. I appreciate it.
It's fun.